much less convincing after September 11th, and I do think that was the wake-up call, as the President himself has said, that allowed a lot of people, including the President, to look around and say, well, what account of the world, in some sense, and what account of America's role in the world seems to make most sense. And I do think if, you know, he looked around, and it's what has now become called the neoconservative account, which none of us used. I mean, this is what's really funny about it. Richard is sitting here, and Bob Kagan and I wrote pieces in Foreign Affairs in '96 and in The National Interest in 2000, which that one's reproduced in Irwin's book. We never called it a neoconservative foreign policy. We kind of thought neoconservatism was something that captured developments in the 60s and 70s, mostly in domestic policy. We called it a neo-Reaganite foreign policy in the '96 Foreign Affairs article, and I'm perfectly happy if people want to call it neoconservative. I don't think it's inaccurate, but it's funny. I mean, so but I think that that version of foreign policy, that account of both the world out there, the dangers of the world out there, America's role in the world, suddenly came back in a convincing way after 9/11. On domestic policy, maybe Erwin would want to talk more about this, but I do think there's also a way in which maybe President Bush could have constrained spending more in his first term, but basically, you know, the welfare state is not going to go away, and the notion that we're not going to have a Goldwater Republican Party, let me put it that way, and I don't say this judgmentally, but just sort of analytically, we're not going to have a Goldwater-esque Republican Party in the next few years, or probably beyond. We don't want to simply have a Republican Party that accommodates to every liberal big government program and doesn't have its own ideas about how to reform them. So I think there is a general interest in what might be called, generally speaking, a neoconservative agenda that would, accept a certain size of government but figure out how to contain it, how to remove the negative effects of government programs, the nanny-state characteristics, dependency, family breakup, while accepting the social safety net, basic provision of funds for the elderly and health care services for everyone at some level, or at least for the elderly and the poor, et cetera, et cetera. So I haven't. This would be a bigger discussion, but I mean, I think that both in foreign and domestic policy, again, it was reality in a sense that confronted Republicans, conservatives, many liberals in both foreign and domestic policy, and maybe led to some rethinking of things in a way that could be characterized as neoconservative.
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank our distinguished panelists. This has been a fascinating and insightful discussion. It gives you a bit of the flavor of what is in this remarkable book. Erwin Stelzer is here to sign copies of the book. If you're unable to purchase a copy, it's available today for purchase through our website, www.hudson.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was good. That was good.
Thank you. That was actually a good discussion.